Welcome to the CircuitPython Show. I'm your host, Paul Cutler. This episode I'm joined by Ben Shockley. Ben is a program manager, aerospace engineer, geek and explorer who loves to tinker, research, and learn. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot. I'm happy to be here. Happy to support it.
How did you first get involved with computers and electronics?
It's been a while, and this may date me, but let's see here. Back in school, I remember the very first real computer experience would be had to be Oregon Trail on the Apple II, and the green screen and everything, and that was just a little bit of usage here and there. I think my real foray into computers started when my parents got one of their very first multimedia computers. I started to really figure out all the different things that you can do with this, and then I started tinkering with it, and after a while, sometimes the computer would, I'd mess it up and family would get mad, and then I'd fix it, of course, and get it back working again. But after that, I think they decided to go ahead and get me my own computer in high school because I think more or less they were tired of me messing with theirs. But so, ever since then, I've just been tinkering with computers and building them myself and, pretty much doing everything I can think of with a computer and enjoying every minute of it.
That's great. I have a similar story with Oregon Trail and the Apple II. It's still a very fond place for me. Tell me about the MiniFigure circuit boards that you designed. Well, first, what are they and how did they start?
Sure. So they are basically a development board similar to many dozens of other boards available today that run a micro little chip on it, and it's kind of, you can think of it as a small computer with I/O on it. But what makes them a little bit unique, I think, and kind of special is that they're shaped just like a minifigure, and their size, I tried to match it as best as I could, one for one, with a minifigure. And they started many, many years ago. What really started was I kind of got interested in circuit board design. I wanted to see, hey, is this something I can do myself? Is it possible? Can I teach myself how to do this? And started searching and researching about it and quickly figured out, I think I could probably do this. And it started with very basic audio circuitry. I wanted to make like a headphone amplifier and, started digging into that and researching that and kind of quickly said, okay, I think I could do that. Made a couple of things here and there. And then it moved over to, well, what if I could do something a little bit more? And, I had seen all these various boards out there. I think we all kind of at one point maybe started with an Arduino, and I think I kind of started with that. At the time, Adafruit has some new boards coming out with, some different chips, something, into the 32-bit range. And I thought, that looks kind of cool. What if I try something like that? And, the first board that I made was a basic rectangle shaped thing. It was pretty much mimicking what else I saw, but I thought, that's kind of fun, but what else could I do? And I started to morph it into this, I love Lego and grew up playing with it. And I thought that would be kind of neat. So it started to morph, and the first few rounds of design were more of a blob that kind of looked like a minifigure. And as I started to explore the capabilities of really the PCB manufacturers, I could design anything in the world, right? But whether it could be built or not was a different question. And I started learning, they can really start to do some of these finer details that I was wanting to put in there. And so, I think at first there was no gap between the legs, and the arms just kind of were stuck right at the side of the minifigure and that kind of thing. And I soon learned, now I can put these smaller details in here because this is all a hobby stuff I do in the, my free time. I just developed it more and more and more, and it became more like an actual minifigure. I think the first one that I would call a success was based on a SAMD21 board by Atmel or Microchip, I guess now. Made a bunch of those by hand. I think I started sharing my results on like Twitter and various places of like that. Hey, this is kind of fun. And to my surprise, maybe I shouldn't have been, but to my surprise, people were really loving these things. And I started getting questions. Hey, can I get one from you? Can I get one from you? And sure, yeah, hold on, let me do this. And it was all assembled by hand at the time. In my designs, I kept trying to do that because I had no idea how to engage someone to go manufacture these for me. So I just had to work with what I could possibly do. I think I bought myself a hot air gun, and then I started thinking, okay, I guess I got to get templates for solder paste and, things of this nature as components started to get a little bit smaller because it is a very small board to work with. So the components had to be pretty small. Yeah, I guess I just started making them by hand and then moved up saw an M4 chip, the SAMD51, and I thought, ooh, let's go to that one and see what else we can do. And so, made my mini SAM M4 was kind of the one that I made for a while, and I've made hundreds of those. That was the one I started to actually get produced by someone for me because I just couldn't hand make them in the quantities people were wanting them. And that was several years ago. I think I had my last major buy for that. Unfortunately, like a lot of people, the chip shortage hit me pretty hard and I couldn't find those anymore. At the same time, Raspberry Pi Foundation came out with this RP2040 chip, and I thought that's a nice looking little chip. I started reading about it. Their documentation was great, the support looked great. The chip itself was less than $1, and I was paying several dollars per chip for the microchip version. And I thought, yeah, maybe it doesn't need something like the M4. Maybe an RP2040 is more like what it really takes. And there were times when there might be several months between development work or effort on it that, life takes over, right? And I think in between all of this, my wife and I had a daughter. She's 6 now, so that kind of dates how long I started all this, many, years before that. But eventually, I finally picked it up again, and the last couple of months really been running with it, trying to finalize that RP2040 version of the chip, which I named FigPy for semi-obvious reasons. Yeah, it's been again a pretty big hit, I guess, and I've got a few boards on hand that I had assembled, and I think there are about 3 or 4 iterations of prototyping before I got it right, but I'm getting a little bit better at it.
How do the two boards compare? Were you able to add any new functionality to the FigPy?
Yes, a little bit. I think one of the biggest issues that I had personally with the MiniSam M4 was the fact that I just didn't have any good way of putting I/O on there. So it currently has these 1.27 millimeter spaced holes, and they're pretty small. And it just honestly trying to actually work with it is pretty hard to do. And so one of the goals with the FigPi was to make connecting to it a little bit easier. So what I ended up doing with that one is on the back of it, I've got several, they're JST, I might get this wrong, but I think it's SH. They're the 1 millimeter spaced connectors. They are, and they're most of them are 4-pin, which matches the STEMMA QT or the Quick style connectors. And I did that on purpose for a couple reasons. 2 of the ports are actual STEMMA QT Quick ports. They're I2C based with the pins in the right order and everything. So any of those boards that you find on Adafruit, the STEMMA QT boards, or any of the Quick boards you can find on like SparkFun, and I think the Seed Studio Grove boards also have the same kind of basic wiring setup, are all compatible and should just plug and play, and all the wires and the connectors are available for a couple dollars here and there. And that was intentional because I wanted people to be able to connect to it, and I didn't want to have to design my own sensors and whatnot. I wanted to have this great already developed ecosystem that I could just plug into. So that's what I added there, and I think that's probably the thing I like the most. The other addition that I kind of enjoyed doing was I added some additional RGB, I guess you could call them neopixels, basically. The original, the SAM M4, has just a single one, which is more or less to support the CircuitPython. What's great about CircuitPython is it does give you feedback, if you made a mistake here or there through that RGB LED. Well, with the 3x3 now, you can also use that to, I don't know, kind of create other little things like I made a heart or I made it count to 10 or, stuff like that. So that's kind of nice.
Speaking of CircuitPython, how has CircuitPython helped with designing the boards?
So I will say, without a doubt, without CircuitPython, without Adafruit supporting it, without all the great people, many of whom you've interviewed, supporting it, there would be no way I would be where I'm at today. I would have no idea how to write firmware. I'd have no idea how to write the boot software for the SAM M4, which you have to do. It would have been just me completely lost. Their support, again, has been invaluable. They've been excellent at answering questions on Discord and places like that. If I run into an issue, I just post real quick, "Hey, I can't get this to work," and I think a couple times they've piped up, "Hey, I think you've got the wrong size capacitor in there. You really should probably put this one in there," or, "Oh yeah, you need to change your firmware or your board definition to say this and that, and that'll get you what you're looking for." And so again, it's just been invaluable, and just without that community, I don't know where I'd be. So yeah, love it.
That's great to hear. As a self-taught PCB designer, what advice would you have for people just starting out designing their own PCBs?
Do your research on the tool you want to use first. There's a lot of good ones out there. I started with EagleCAD back when it was, its own company. I think Autodesk bought them. I still used Eagle for a while because I have a grandfathered in license, and so it's kind of hard for me to give that up. But I have the FigPy actually was designed in KiCad, and so I have moved over from Eagle to a KiCad setup, and I like them all. They're all very similar, just like any sort of CAD tool. They all have the same type of thing. It's just learning where each of those tools is. And then once you find your tool, just jump in, spend a little time, goof around. I downloaded a lot of examples from other people just to see how they did it. And I think that helps a lot. It's like anything. There's a learning curve to it, but anyone can do it. It's possible.
Are the MiniFig boards open source? Do you share the design files as well?
I do. Everything I have is open source. So I use GitHub, or I'm kind of moving maybe over to my own GitLab setup on my own server. But yeah, I share everything out there. I even have oshpark.com. I don't know if you've ever used them, but they're great for prototyping circuit boards. They've been also very helpful and very supportive of me throughout the years as well. And I use them for all my prototyping because they're fast, great quality, really helpful. I have some of my boards already added to that. So you can, if you don't even want to do the design aspect and you just want to order a board, I have links on my website to just click order a board and you can get some boards sent to you, the bombs available, stuff like that. So yeah, everything's open source, ready to go.
Well, that's great. Last question I like to ask each guest. You're about to start a new project. Which microcontroller board do you reach for?
Well, I would say my own, but the reality is, yeah, I've got a lot of the Adafruit boards as well, including the CircuitPython Express, I think was what it was called, the kind of the round one that has everything built into it. It's a great board because it has so many peripherals built in, so many things to try out and test and figure out, and it's been a great tool to use as well. But sometimes whatever whatever board happens to be whatever's closest to my hand when I need something real quick and reach out and grab it, and whatever's there is what I use. But I think we all tend to have like that drawer full of boards, right? That you open up and which one do I want today?
Just full of boards in anti-static bags
Right.
everywhere.
Yep.
And if people want to learn more about the MiniFig boards, where should they go?
So minifigboards.com is what I'll say is the great place to start. It has details about the boards there. And like I said, it has links there to my GitHub repository, to links to directly to order boards. If you don't want to have to open up a tool to look at the design or whatnot, then you can go directly there to get a board. You can also order boards through the website as well if you want to skip all of that and just order something already made and tested.
Ben, thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you for listening to the CircuitPython Show. For show notes and transcripts, visit CircuitPythonShow.com. Until next time, stay positive.